another great day at the Mentors for Military podcast, and I'm Robert, and I'm joined by my sidekick, Paul Martinez.
Hey, everybody.
So we're going to go down something that I think is, for me, is like really personal, because when I think about being an NCO, it's about finding ways in which to lift those around me and kind of, help mentor and coach them. And in the case of our guest today, you put a post up, Luke, that really kind of resonated with me and is one of the reasons why I really wanted you to come on the show. Among other reasons, I've been kind of a fangirl from outside and stuff, paying, attention to the work that you're doing on Instagram anyway. And so anyway, welcome to the podcast, Luke.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I want to get into this thing, but before I do, I want to go into your humble beginnings, because before you came into the Army, you went to the 18 X-ray program, right?
Right. Yeah.
So before you did that, where did you call home? What was the place that kind of grounded you?
So a little background, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And my grandparents adopted me when I was 13 years old. Went out there and lived with them through my high school years, started acting out as a teenager, like we do. And I got arrested like a week after I turned 18. It was little, got expunged.
Yeah.
But my grandparents, just based off of all the other buildup, they left me like a voicemail saying I had to get out of the house. So it was like a big change. So I had to go live with my parents that I hadn't seen in like 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And they were still doing the same things they were doing before. That was the whole reason why I had to go live with my grandparents in the first place. So I tried making it work, just working with my dad, laying tile for a little while. And then I was laying on the couch one day and saw a Marine commercial. And I don't know, some dude like climbing a mountain and like fighting a dragon or some shit like that.
I remember that one. Yeah.
I do remember that.
I was like, you know what? I want to do that. I want to fight dragons.
Yeah.
So went to a Marine recruiter, and then I told him I wanted recon, took the ASVAB, and I guess I scored pretty good on that. I can't even remember what I scored, but he was super excited. He said, well, you can do pretty much anything you want to do. We're going to put you in aviation mechanics or something like that. And I was like, no, you're not. So went home, thought about it, and I had a buddy who always talked about the Rangers, and I love like Saving Private Ryan and Black Hawk Down and all those movies,
Yeah.
So I didn't even know about Special Forces.
Yeah.
And I went up to the Army recruiter, told him, I want a Ranger contract. And he was like, oh, well, we don't have any Ranger contracts, but we have an 18 X-ray contract. And I was like, well, what's that? He's like, you want to be Special Forces? Oh, he said, you want to jump out of airplanes and kill people? And I was like, fuck yeah. And he was like, you want to be Special Forces? I was like, that sounds cool. Yeah, let's try it. So did a little PT test, was eligible to come in, did that. I didn't even know what a Green Beret was, so I was like halfway through the Q course.
No way. So
yeah. I knew, but it was just like, I was just like, you want me to do this? Okay, I'll run this fast. I'll go this far. Just checking the block as I went. And I didn't really understand what a Green Beret was, obviously, until I was 20 years old,
Yeah, I'm definitely going to show my age. I can remember, now, of course, this movie was made well ahead of me at Fort Benning, but John Wayne and Green Berets. Oh, yeah. I mean, what a movie. Yep. That was, And, of course, a lot of people don't know it was filmed at Benning, but you can kind of tell if you've ever been at Benning, then you can watch that movie and you'll be like, oh, God, okay, yeah, I know right where that's at and all that. But,
Weapons over there.
Yeah. But I mean, that's crazy. So you didn't get like one of those where they show you the video and everything as well before you?
Yeah, I watched like Rambo and those movies.
Rambo.
And like they showed us Green Beret somewhere in the Q course. It was like you had to watch it.
Yeah.
But and honestly, just some of the mentors I had, and they would sit down and talk to us, about how it was really more of. It's not this like kicking indoors job that everybody thinks it is. Especially like what we were doing in Afghanistan. You got trained dudes, and then you go fight with those dudes. And then the more mature I got in the 7th group, was just the more it was impressive to me that like what we could do as far as force multipliers go. Yeah, that's
the biggest thing I think that I get, at least from individuals who may be following those within the SF community, is that they kind of see them as more of the knuckle dragging, door kicking individuals. And it's not that that's not part of the mission.
That's what sells, That's what a little attacked. We got to get our numbers up, So that's what people want to see, and they want to see the halo jumps and all that. But in reality, you're probably not going to do a combat mission halo jump. Let's be real.
Yeah. And I mean, it's important to get that message out there as well, especially.
Yeah, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings.
No. But
Halo school is awesome, so I definitely want to go do that.
Yeah, but in my early career, when I was thinking of going into SF, it wasn't. it was more because of the force multiplier and side of it that really excited me. And I'm kind of, even today, a jack of all trades and a master of none type of thing. And, you know, and if you talk to most SF, you know, that's, you know, what they are. They're individuals who know a lot. They're really good at the basics. And, you know, that's what's talked about and everything. Yet that's not always what people see out there. And, you know, for me, it's part of like being an NCO or part of being a leader is to give back and constantly train and make people more proficient at what they want to do and what they're capable of doing and help them see that. And I think that, you know, your journey of what you were doing, I don't want to get too far ahead, but so let's go back a little bit then. So you end up going into 18 X-ray and you end up going to OSIT at Fort Benning. And at that time frame in the 18 X-ray program, you're kind of thrown in with 11s.
Yeah, so in my company, it was 86 X-rays. The rest were mostly RASP.
Okay.
Contracts, and then some,
option 40,
and then infantry, and then some poor unfortunate souls that were like 88 mics and shit that were in there. Intel kid, I remember he was in my platoon. He had a rough time, but it was mostly X-rays and RAF students.
Okay, so I remember in the very early stages, you know, of 18 X-ray, they didn't always like. I think they end up putting them a lot more with 11 series and stuff. It's interesting that they're kind of lumping it all over and they're putting them more together too. So you're going through training with a lot of guys who are under similar contract,
right,
18 X-ray,
right,
yeah.
yes.
How was your experience and stuff with the drill sergeants at that time frame and how they reacted to 18 series?
Well, and rightfully so. They mostly just looked at it as, okay, you're gonna be a new infantryman. You know, as soon as you fail that, you know, you fail your contract, you're gonna go to 82nd Airborne or something like that. So you're gonna be a good infantryman. That's what they kind of treated it as. But like the one that was so influential to me, he took a vested interest in me. I guess he saw something that he liked, and I really respected him a lot. So he was a great mentor for me. And a few of the drill sergeants actually did like took an interest in me and would kind of like motivate me and always call me SF and stuff like that. I told you.
Yeah.
So, but still, they'd make jokes like, you know, you better keep your head, you know, down and drive on because it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Because you lose a lot of, most of the kids in basic, they drop their contracts just because basic's too hard, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you haven't even started yet.
They were playing Call of Duty too much, you know, and they're like, okay, this is how it's going to be. No, it's not.
Yeah, so when you were going through that initial phase and everything, and you were, you know, really bonding or getting into the whole mode of basic training, your drill sergeants were finding something in you, but were you recognizing that they were really getting into a position of being like a coach and mentor to you at that time frame? Did you recognize that, or was it just more of...
It wasn't until like, it's a little hard for me to remember, it's so long ago, but towards the back end is when, you know, because at first, as a drill sergeant, you got to be hard and break the kids down, so it's like there's no favoritism or anything like that. So they didn't really show me any love, if you will, until it was like kind of like on obstacle courses or something like that, where they'd be like rooting for me and shit like that. So, and it was the first time I've had that, so it was like, I don't know, I guess in football I had that too growing up, but it just reminded me of that, if anything, and I liked that feeling, so I just wanted to perform well because they were taking a more interest in me, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to impress that guy, you know, because I respect him. That's kind of how it felt.
We're gonna talk about how that came full circle. So you end up leaving there and on the typical path. I'm assuming you go to Airborne, you go to pre-SFAS, and then you go off the SFAS and Q.
Exactly.
What was the MOS that you ended up getting out of Q?
So 18 Echo, and so when you pass selection, I can't remember if it's before, I think it's after, but you write down your top 3 locations you want to go to, top 3 jobs you want to have, and I put Echo, and 7th group on all 3.
Did you really?
Yeah. And language also Spanish, but they didn't give me Spanish, they gave me Pashto. But yeah, 18 Echo. So the reason why I chose 18 Echo, I did construction growing up, and that's kind of like what I heard the Charlie job was, like the engineer, which is sadly, it's more of like a logistical job, so you're going to be handling a lot of hand receipts. But the Delta's the medic, you know, and I heard that was a whole extra year, and then my lazy ass was like, nah, I don't want to do all that. And I grew up shooting guns with my uncle taught me how to hunt and everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I can learn about guns, and I already like guns and know a little bit about them, so... And and that was the Bravo job. So one thing I don't know about is electronics. Like I never even owned a computer until I was like a teenager, and I never got on the motherfucker.
Yeah.
So I was always outside. But so I was like, well, I guess I can learn this, and if I ever want to get out, it'll be a good job skill to have too, and I can make some money on the outside.
Yeah.
And I also heard that as an 18 Echo, you're always going to be on a mission. Like sometimes you got to leave dudes back in the ops and guard, you know. And as an Echo communications, you always have to have that. So it's like, all right, bet I'll be on every mission. All right, I'll do that one.
What was it about 7th?
The location, honestly, the beach.
Well, you can't beat the Gulf there and beautiful waters, white sand, the whole. I grew up from around that area, by the way, just outside of Pensacola.
Oh,
so,
nice, yeah.
That's home. And and growing up in that area, honestly, I took advantage of it, or I should say that I didn't take advantage of it as much as I should have, because I didn't recognize how cool the beach is until I became much older, because I wanted the hell out of there. To me, that was like,
right.
That place is still somewhat, and I have family there, and so I mean this in all good intention, but it's stuck in like 1975 in some places. And so I needed to get out of there and get away from it. And it's so interesting hearing people who are fighting to get in and they love it.
Right.
And
you always want what's different from what you grew
exactly.
up. You want to experience something new. So.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with the area. I mean, like I said, beautiful beaches and the whole bit. So when you end up going, when you end up going to 7th, I mean, I would think, there are certain places that you kind of want to be in the different groups and stuff, but you couldn't really go wrong by going to 7th.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't even know what a Green Beret was, so halfway through the Q course, so I definitely didn't know like which group I wanted to go to. I was just like, well, I definitely want to live by the beach, and Columbia sounds cool. So, and 7th group was really active over in Afghanistan at that time. They had a lot of combat rotations back to back, and I heard that also. So that's why me as a Pashtun speaker, that's why I even went down there in the first place. Because mostly it's Spanish speakers. So
what year was this?
I was in 2012.
Okay. Yeah, they were pretty heavy at that time.
Summer 2012. 2010 was like a really bad year for 7th group. We lost a lot of dudes in that one. And, onesies and twosies every single deployment since then, pretty much.
So when you get down there to 7th group, was it everything that you thought it was?
It was more. Like, I remember, I never lived on my own either, so... And it was just like one dude I graduated the Q course with. I knew him throughout the Q course. We weren't really best friends or anything, but... Neither one of us knew what the fuck we were doing, so I was like, hey, you want to room together so we can save some money? We got this little apartment, and I was telling her, I was like, I just remember waking up every morning like, fuck yeah, let's go to work, let's do this. It wasn't dreading the alarm clock going off, because you go to the train, and everything was so interesting to me, and hanging out with guys that I respected and, just looked up to, and they were all training me, and, it was just a good time, a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I remember the first weekend I went out at 7th group. There's a bar down there called AJ's that anybody down there knows it. And it's like a rooftop bar, and you can see out over the water. And I was talking to my best friend. I was drunk as shit, and I just had this moment of clarity. And I was looking out, thinking about like, holy shit, like I did it. And, I'm down here looking out over the ocean, pretty girls around me. And I was like, bro, we're stationed here. Can you believe that shit?
Yeah.
It was just a really good feeling. Really good feeling.
How was it that, was it at that moment that you realized that, all right, the training's over, and not only that, but now I've gone into the career field that I wanted to go into? Is that was that moment? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I want to say I went to Halo school almost immediately. I got really lucky.
Oh, did you? Wow.
So I got really lucky. There's 2 Echoes that went to my company, and it's either go to the Halo team or the B team. And luckily I got chosen, went to the Halo team. They sent me to Halo school. And it's probably the last jump is a night jump, full wall locker, so you got everything on. And inside like the C-130 and ramps closed, everybody's got these like chem lights on them and glowing. You got the O2 mask on. And I remember out at Camp McCall, the chow hall out there had a... like all these little pictures of SF activities, I guess, up around the top of the ceiling. And one dude was a Halo jumper, and I just remember always sitting there eating and thinking, like, man, I want to fucking be that dude.
Yeah.
And last jump, night jump, full wall locker, and the ramp just starts to open, and it's a night jump, and And I just was looking around, and it was probably the best feeling I've ever had in my life. It was awesome. I was like, fuck yeah, like here we are. And jumped out, and I remember I was just screaming the whole time, like, woo, like inside my mask. Because you're falling in the darkness too, so it was really cool. That was probably the best moment of my life right there.
Yeah. How many times did you get a chance to really jump after that?
I think I got like 159, something like that. Oh my gosh,
right, really? Okay.
Because once a year you'll do what they call a level 1 train up on a Halo team, and you go out to Eloy, Arizona, and you'll jump for 3 weeks, and you get like 30, 40 jumps, something like that.
Wow. Just in that one time frame.
You'll do like 3 a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is fun, don't get me wrong, but you get tired of packing that parachute. You wish you could be like, hey, hire somebody to come do it.
Yeah.
Or get a rigger to do it for you.
Now, did you get an opportunity to go or even look at like, I think they also have, didn't they have also a dive down 7 as well as dog?
Dive schools in Key West, but every ODA's got dive teams.
Yeah.
1 per company.
Yeah. Never decided to go that route?
So my buddies always make fun of me. I'm pretty dense, you know. I sink like a rock when I'm in the swimming pool. I start trying to swim, run out of oxygen real quick. But it's always been like she swims, so hopefully she can teach me a little bit about that, and I can pursue that because it's interesting. I'd like to have that dive bubble too. Don't get me wrong. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you were talking about that, and then you wanted to go near the beach, I automatically went to okay. You know, you a Scooby guy. You know, you want to go down there. You want to blow bubbles, and you know the whole thing. And then then you tell me you go the Halo route, and I'm thinking, okay, well, okay.
Anything to get an adrenaline rush. That skydive was a really good adrenaline rush. So
yeah, definitely.
But diving, man, dive teams are generally they're in great shape. All the dudes usually are in great shape. And they're usually really squared away teams, to be honest. And they get the best missions in Afghanistan. Like my first combat rotation, the dive team was having so much trouble because they were so active and getting shot up. They needed the op tempo was so high, they needed another ODA there. So I got lucky, and my ODA went there and got the commando mission. And I love that shit. You know, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he still didn't give you the itch to where, all right, let me go ahead and get into the pool and start getting some bubble time, huh?
It's just, I went swimming, trust me, at the ocean on the weekends. I saw how bad I was at swimming. I was like, it's going to be a hard route to go down. And I didn't want to seem like I'm kind of loyal to the Halo side. You know, those are my boys over there.
Yeah.
I didn't want to seem like someone who was just like chasing badges.
Yeah, yeah.
I respect the hell out of the dive guys, though, for real.
There's sort of a line to walk too. Like it's good to take opportunities, but like if you're a little too eager to, like you said, chase a bunch of badges or stuff like that, like it's not always as beneficial.
I mean, if you want to go to dive school, I've never heard of anyone really being turned down from dive school because they're always wanting people in that school. But
it's not an easy school to pass, though.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to be okay with drowning, but I mean, you're gonna be all right. They bring them back all the time. You know what I'm saying? That would be my mindset on it.
So how long did you end up staying within 7th group before you got your current assignment?
Let's see. So I was telling him I got down in 2012, in the summer of 2012, and got my assignment the summer of 2020. So 8 years.
8 years. Yeah. And the whole time at 7th.
Yep.
You never wanted to go to 5th group, though, which would have been closer to home. Never got the itch.
See, that's too close to home. I wanted something different. But now I would go home on leave like the last couple of years and see the country, and I'm like, man, I kind of miss this shit. You know? It's kind of funny how you want to go back to where it all started. But I don't think I would ever live in Memphis again. So try elsewhere.
Yeah.
Try some mountains, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of me, too. I go back home or I go back to see family or whatever. I go there on vacation. It's funny, I go there now on vacation, yet I didn't really have any desire to live there. So I totally can relate to what you're talking about, and not wanting to do it. But it's fun to go back. It's fun to, to kind of see the landscape and everything. Was it your assignment as a DS? Was it something you put in for because they said, "Hey, listen, you need to leave the group"?
Well, I've been dodging the SWIC list for the longest.
I was going to say usually that's the SWIC muster usually comes around.
I knew it was coming, and it was either going to be a free-for-all instructor out there or a drill sergeant. And, you know, in the drill academy, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't like, man, what the fuck did you do? Why did you choose this? You know? But it's just, I knew it was going to be something so different from what I'm used to. And I'm bad about that. Like, I need change. I need like to experience new things. And I just felt stagnant kind of as a Green Beret at 7th Group. I was just doing the same job over again. And the last combat rotation wasn't anything like I expected, you know, what I got spoiled with initially. And so I was like, well, it's time for me to do something different, to reignite like my motivation and everything. So training soldiers is something I've never done. And then going into the regular Army, geez, it's a huge, huge transition, let me tell you.
Well, because of the fact you didn't go, like back in the day, you had to spend 2 years conventional Army before you could go in.
To SF,
yeah, and so you having never been and gone in an E-Team X-ray program, you're like a little bit of a fish out of water, but you're not even still real conventional because you're conventional, but yet in a TRADOC situation.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So it's even different, you know?
You're right about that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'd say as an X-ray, you're definitely at a disadvantage when you get to group because you just don't know shit. Like I remember the first time I drove a Humvee, we were doing a demo range, and they were, I don't know, for some reason I had to go back and get a Humvee and drive it up. And I must have spent like 10 minutes trying to figure out how to turn that motherfucker on. I knew there wasn't a key because I heard them talk shit about it. But I was like, all right, let's see if I can do this. But yeah, I just didn't know anything.
Well, this had to be extremely hard for you to go into drill sergeant school, and you're used to having your hands in your pockets too.
Oh, man. Everything, hair, pockets. I've walked past like 3 captains and totally forgot to salute them just because you don't do it at 7th Group is a no salute zone.
Yeah.
And not out of disrespect, it's just I'm not used to it, you know. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that.
That's got to be a huge culture shock.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And people are a lot more sensitive in the regular in TRADOC situation. Like, it's like I'm not used to talking. I have to watch what I say a lot more.
Now, how many guys do you normally see going this path, though?
Not many. It's,
I didn't think
the request for drill sergeant, or let's see, the demand isn't that high for SF. It's like you might get 1 per battalion, probably each SWIC list.
Yeah. I have seen some on the recruiting duty side, you know, that end up going that route, not because they didn't get requested. Sometimes they get kind of forced into that. But
yeah, I mean, some dudes take that as like a break. Also, like especially when our op tempo is really high, they need just a break. So give their families a break. Everything, they could be recruiters. And there's some cool recruiting jobs out there in Hawaii. You know, wouldn't be a bad place to go. But for me, I felt like I would get way too lax as a recruiter and just out of my. Like, I kind of like the part about drill sergeant. I'm waking up early as shit, doing PT every day. It's like it forces you to do stuff, you know, but it's like I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. When you started going through, you said when you started going through drill instructor school and everything, that you like, what the hell have I done? What was it about that? Was it just because now you're back to kind of the basics?
No,
or?
I'm probably going to piss some people off, but it was honestly the mentality of the people that were around me. It's like, I got to be, just everyone was out of shape, and I hadn't worked out much at all throughout COVID, and it was just everybody was like breaking on doing. I remember this one infantry guy, and he was doing pull-ups. Man, and he was always running his mouth. He's one of those dudes that just like bitched about everything, and he knew everything because he was an infantryman, I guess. But he threw his back out or some shit doing some pull-ups, and the instructor was just sitting there like, "Are you okay?" Like looking at him and just like rolling his eyes, and this dude is moaning like a little girl on the ground. And I was like talking mad shit about him because I was like, "This is bullshit." I was like, "This dude runs his mouth all the time and he can't do a fucking pull-up." And then it was a cook, this older cook, and he was like, "Oh, Captain America, not all of us can, work out. Our jobs let us work out all the time." And I was like, "That's bullshit, bro." I was like, "I know your hours." I was like, "I know you can work out, And I was like, that's what I said that pissed everybody off. I was like, the reason why he threw his back out is because he hasn't done pull-ups in a long ass time. I was like, if you do it every day, I was talking shit because I know sergeant majors that could crush me, on a PT test, and I'm just like, That's what I said. I was like, I know old sergeant majors that are shot the fuck up who could out PT anybody out here. So it's like, that's not an excuse that you're old and you don't have time.
Yeah. I'm glad that I have the same COVID body that Luke has, from not working out.
I did push-ups and shit at the house. But
Same.
I'm glad I don't have to work out or anything to look that way.
I will say that I was blessed genetically, thankfully.
Yeah.
Whoever's up there.
Did you learn anything in the academy? Like, did you find? I mean, obviously you learned something, right?
Yeah,
like you don't go spend that much time.
Right. But
were you surprised by any of the stuff that you learned?
More so, just what I learned most was just how to deal with people who have a different mindset than I do. Honestly, that was like because a lot of the stuff there I knew already. It's just you got to learn like the TRADOC way of doing things, but it wasn't too hard to learn the material. It was more so just learning how to interact with people in that environment, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess I hurt a lot of people's feelings when I said that about the dude on the ground. So I got to be careful what I say, but it's just, that's how I feel about it,
Well, which is odd to me. And that's exactly what I was just getting ready to say, is because, we all remember when we went through, and of course it's harder than what it is today, but I think there is some truth to that it's much different, and we're dealing with a different society. And we talked about this on a couple episodes ago that, we're talking about a generation that's used to not really having to lose. There's not a winner or a loser. Everybody's a winner.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So when I was in SLC, I think they're lowering the standards a lot in the Q course. At least from our eyes, that's what we saw it as. And
everybody had to learn the Q course.
They had us in a huge ass auditorium at Bank Hall. Sergeant Major of SWIC came and talked to us. Commander of SWIC came and talked to us. And it was kind of like they were just giving excuses for why they're lowering the standards. And they said that today's youth, this is in 2017, so it's even worse now apparently, but today's youth, their bone density is 30% less dense than people before, because they don't go outside and they don't get vitamin D or whatever you need for bone density. And they just don't do activities where they're putting weight on themselves and anything.
I mean, we used to go out and ride bikes and all that kind of stuff. They don't do that, Yeah.
That's another story. I was called my nephew just to check on him. He's like 10 years old. And when I was 10, you wouldn't find my ass until like 10 o'clock at night. I was out riding my bike around somewhere in the woods, whatever. And I was like, what are you doing, man? And he was like, oh, I'm playing outside. And I was like, oh, cool, what are you doing? He's like, watching YouTube videos of my friend and on the curb. I was like, that is not playing outside. That's doing the same shit you do outside. I said, why don't you go just grab a bike and build a ramp? I mean, I know we had a bike. I was like, get your bike, build a ramp, and jump that motherfucker. That's how I talked to him. And he was like, oh, no. He's like, what if I hurt myself? And that hurt my heart so bad when I heard him say that. I was like, no, what are you talking about? And maybe some people, could use this with their kids, but the way I told him, like, to not be afraid of it, I was like, all right, what's the worst you've ever been hurt in your life? Think about the worst cut, scrape, anything you've ever had. And I was like, you got it? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, how is it now? Is it healed up? And he's like, yeah, it's gone, good to go. I'm like, so don't be afraid to get hurt. You're going to be fine. I was like, just go out and have fun. But hopefully that resonated with them.
So going back, I mean, when you're looking at it now, you're listening to what the SWIC commander is saying, and you're talking about how the standards have changed.
Bad, yeah.
No, and I'm curious about that, and then how that related to what you learned within, your drill instructor training, and what they may have shared with you there as well about what you're going to be seeing and facing.
So apparently, just from hearing the instructors at the academy, they were talking about how easy people hurt themselves, like just literally. That whole PRT, the exercises they make everybody do before you do PT, the reason they do that is because kids have literally, some of them have never even picked something heavy up off the ground before, or bent, just like throwing their backs out, getting down on the ground, Mm-hmm. And so they make you do the simplest movements as possible, just so everybody gets on that baseline. So it's just it's a big culture shock, but I understand it, I guess, kind of, if that's happening. Because I remember in basic, I'm sure you do too, like some of the kids there, you're like, God, man, like they're breaking their ankles on just the smallest shit, It's like, what were you doing in the past?
Yeah, a bunkmate broke his ankle coming out of the bed. So and I was like, he didn't break it. he had like a sprain or something.
Right.
And he's like, "This is the worst pain ever." I'm like, "Man, you sprain my ankles once a week."
Right.
Skateboarding,
Take
riding a bike,
exactly,
like that. You know, guys can't do a push up. You know, so I mean that's always
And that's
been
fine.
that way,
And you know what? That's fine because everybody's raised differently. You know what I'm saying? What if you had? It doesn't matter how you were raised, but if you join the military and you're expected to do this, you need to. I mean, they all knew they were going to the military, so do a couple push-ups before you get there. You know what I'm saying? And it's you should be able to meet the standard, in my opinion.
Did they talk much about this? But did they
at the academy about the standards?
Yeah,
like lowering standards.
Yeah,
no, they're all about it over there. It seems like people are like, "Yes, let's lower the standards." I saw a girl, and I get it. It's not the instructor's fault. They have to make numbers, and it's coming from the top, you know. But I saw a girl climbing up on a PT stand. Okay, let me rephrase that. Couldn't climb up on a PT stand, and she became a drill sergeant. How in the hell are you gonna motivate a soldier when you can't even climb up on the PT stand? And that's like, I don't like that mindset at all. And they're okay with it, you know. It's just like, well, if they tell her it's okay instead of being mad at herself, she's like, all right, yes, you know, I get away with it. But
that's interesting.
That's a mindset that I just could not understand. It was a really big culture shock there.
So I have a question. Are all the, like, because it used to be if you're infantry, you go to Sandhill as a drill sergeant. Mm-hmm. Is it still that way, or is
I know
now?
all mine were infantry, and all the guys that came to Benning from my class that I knew, they were all infantry also.
Okay.
They didn't bring any
so they don't mix them.
MOSs. No, not that I think.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
I was wondering that too, because when you talked about earlier about 18 X-rays, 88 mics, and Levins and all that.
So there was like 188 mic in my company.
Okay.
It was probably a paperwork mix up or something.
He showed up at the wrong fort.
He was awesome though. He was all about it.
They had one slot.
Even the Intel kid, like he tried. You know, I respect the hell out of that. He was like 110 pounds wet. Man.
So, did you know you were going to Benning before you went, just because of your previous path, or could you have gone anywhere?
Like before I joined the military? Oh,
no,
you're talking about the
this
drill sergeant?
now,
I wanted to go to Benning.
I
probably could have requested some other locations, but I wanted to go back to Benning.
I didn't know if you got a request or not.
Yeah. I mean, they told me I was going to Benning, and I figured that's where I would go.
Yeah.
I think all the SF dudes go to. I'm sure all the SF and Ranger instructors go there because that's where you get the most bang for your buck out of that instructor.
Yeah, I would hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also could see kind of a needs of the Army. Well, we need a drill sergeant at Fort Jackson, you know. Or
get the one that can't climb up on the PT stand. She'd love to go there.
Yeah, they send you to relax in Jackson, spice some things up. You know?
So, you know.
And I don't want to badmouth there, but there was a what unit was he with? I can't remember. There's some 82nd dudes that I love to death. There's one who was just hilarious. And he old as shit, but you can just tell he grew up in 82nd. He was but he was funny as fuck. He always said something hilarious. And they were great dudes. They could perform well. You know, there were good dudes in that class. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm bad mouthing the whole class.
No, you didn't. I didn't take it.
It was just you get a mixture from so many different elements, and then that one mindset of the majority was just like, what the fuck? But we all, you know, all the infantry guys kind of hung out together, and you know, and I tried motivating everybody best I could.
It was part of the challenge, I think, that we've heard a lot from soft guys anyway, when they get back to the conventional forces, is they've never had to lead an individual or a group of individuals that weren't volunteers, that didn't, you know, stay within the hard, you know, performance every day. And if they didn't live up to a standard, they got pushed out and the whole type of thing. And instead, in the conventional Army, you know, it's much different. It's a different style of leadership you've got to have and the whole bit. And again, you've never been exposed to any of this. So seeing it for the first time when you're going through a school of non-commissioned officers, obviously your assumption was by the time they reach E6, you know, E7, E5, whatever, they should be a certain way or whatever. So I'm sure it was a bit of a shock anyway. Just your first experience there.
Yeah, it's just, my belief is you should have an optimistic attitude about everything, especially in the Army. It helps you so much because if not, you're gonna hate life. So you just got to find the glass half full of everything you're doing, and you'll be happy. And I think where I probably learned that was in selection. I remember it was during team week. We were pushing it's like a 3-wheel Jeep or some shit like that, and it's just going through this wet sand. It had been raining all week, and it was raining on. It started raining like as we're pushing it through a ditch, and there was this National Guard guy there who was just hilarious, and he was like, "Fuck you, rain god." He was like, "Bring that shit," you know. And just everybody started laughing, and then you just feel that Jeep just go, woof, you know, and start moving. And it's like, it helps out so much more than someone being over like, "Man, this sucks," or "Oh no, it's raining." It's like, that doesn't help anyone. So that pissed me off so much, because you get that positive mindset a lot in SF, and if you get that negative person, they get, you know, you're gonna get told like, "Hey, fix yourself."
Yeah.
So I don't know, that was just the biggest thing, was just the mindset and being okay with being
mediocre. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This wasn't cool.
So when you now get into Fort Benning and you get around, let's say, at least like-minded people, individuals who are, you know, kind of motivated, they realize now, hey, we've got a job to do. Did you find yourself kind of getting back into a team mode of, you know, with your, because I mean, you guys, let's face it, you know, you guys work some long hours and you end up putting a lot of time in over or at least a lot of time in over a period of time. And then in some cases, you may not get the break that you properly need, and you go right back into a next class. And so it can take quite a toll. And, you know, and I think it takes a certain mindset of individuals for sure that to go into drill sergeant and become, or a DI and become a drill sergeant and stuff, and really want to motivate young people into being soldiers.
Like, I just got there, so I haven't even really been.
Oh, you haven't had your first cycle yet?
I haven't started a cycle yet, but from just what the drill instructors were saying, if you want to fix those horrible hours, you got to be cohesive. That if you're with a group of guys that everyone's working together and helping the other person, that it's not nearly as bad as everybody makes it out to be. You know, you got red phase or whatever, where you're waking up from 04 to 2100. You know, you have to be there. But outside those 3 weeks, if you work together, from what I hear, you know, and that's kind of with anything you do, any unit, many hands make light work, you know. So hopefully I just get a good cohesive team. And being an E7, if they're not, I'm going to make them one. You know, so.
Yeah. So when is your first cycle?
I don't know. Hopefully soon, within like a month, hopefully.
Okay. So anybody listening to this is going off the Fort Benning, Georgia is 11 series.
Yes.
In a month or so, you might run into this NCO.
But message to those guys, because I've already had this issue. So social media is a big deal for like drill sergeants, because a lot of them make poor decisions with their trainees. So if you're gonna go through my class or anything like that, do not like contact me and try to be my buddy or anything, because it's not gonna be that whenever you meet me. You know, I'm gonna be your mentor and then buddies later on down the road.
Oh yeah, you got to earn it, right?
But just, I feel bad because I'm ignoring all these messages of guys that are asking me questions, and it's like I can't even do that anymore. So and there's not much I can tell guys anyways. If you're going to basic, it's like a lot of dudes would hit me up asking me like, what do I need to pass selection? And I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing now? And they're like, well, I'm sophomore in high school. I'm like, well, bro, it's like you got some time, you know, just get through school, do well in school, and, you know, do push-ups, go run. Obviously, you got to ruck. But there's not much advice I can really give you. You have to have a certain mindset that you can't really train. You can kind of like,
you can kind of foster that.
Yeah, like you can build
that
like
mentality.
build that mindset to like, I want to be better, you know, better myself. But I feel like to be a Green Beret, you kind of they're looking for a certain type of person, at least baseline.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of already have that, I feel like, or at least want to have that, I guess.
No, I think it's a good point. Go ahead.
When you were in selection, I mean, you probably saw people that came very prepared, were very athletic, and then they failed. Yeah. And you probably saw some people that
I saw
were
some
not prepared at all, and they passed.
I saw some beast-ass dudes where I was like, I thought I was in shape, and I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, and just little stuff like the swim test got a lot of people, almost got my ass. Land nav, obviously, but just little shit like leaving a rifle somewhere, like a rubber duck up against the tree on the land nav course. I did that. So my last point on the start course, I'd passed the point that just so happened to be my last point on the way to my fourth point, and I saw the smoke coming up through the trees like 200 meters off on my way to my 4th point. Mapped my next point, and I was like, "Oh, bet." And I was like, "It's the same fucking point down there." So I just started running, running, and I get halfway down there, and I'm like, "Man, something is wrong." No rubber ducks, so I freaked the hell out.
You had to go all the way back,
running all the way back, doing clover leaves, looking for my gun, and finally found it. But I don't tell many people that story. But,
Well, you just did.
It's out there now. I don't care. I made it. But just dudes losing like their maps and stuff like that, and then they get kicked out, and it's just like, man, that was a good dude. And I can't remember his name, and I don't have any qualms throwing him under the bus. But this kid made it through selection, couldn't even do the 7 pull-ups that you have to do. You know, he couldn't do 3 pull-ups, and I don't know how he passed. It's like, how does that make it through? And that was in 2011, 2010. So it's like he made it like 2 more phases before you got kicked out. You know, it's like, I don't like that. You got to be able to keep the standards. And if they're lowering that, I can't even imagine what's, you know, slipping through the cracks now.
It all started way back when this same thing we talked about this on this episode where it wasn't necessarily, well, I guess you could call it lowering the standards. They needed to get a certain number to go through, and they did that. They ramped up and everything, and I think it was actually in the very beginning of the GWAD days. And then 18 X-Ray came on board, and so there was people that were feeling the same way about allowing people.
Of course, it's always going to be that way. You're always going to hear the older dudes be like, "Oh, it's easier now." Yeah.
You talk
I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
I think about it all the time. My class was obviously way easier than some of the older heads. So,
yeah.
You know, it is. I laugh at myself sometimes with mine because I got to realize I might be narrow-minded in this viewpoint. But I get it. Like, you have to have your numbers. That makes sense. I understand that. But you can't mass produce a SF soldier. It's like a saying that we always say, but they're trying to, and it just rubs dudes the wrong way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
just like the X-ray thing. It's like, because trust me, when I got to my unit as an X-ray,
it's much better now than what it was in the very beginning. I'll say that. You know,
Man, he was my Fox at the time, but he came from regiment. He was the E7 until he came over from like all the way up in regiment until he came over. So. And he had tried the long walk a couple times, a little bitter. I'm not going to put his name out there, but really, like, squared away. Dude's been like 3 helicopter crashes, done all types of crazy shit. Awesome soldier, you know, but just really abrasive. And I remember it was like my first day in the team room, and for some reason it was just me and him in there, and I was petrified. And honestly, I was just like on my computer pretending to read emails. And he was like, turned his chair around, and he was like, "Look, for the first year," he's like, I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but he said, basically, you're an X-ray, and I don't want to hear a fucking word out of your mouth. You sit in the corner, you listen, you learn. He's like, don't be like this other person who was on my team, who was also an X-ray, who was very opinionated. And he was like, just shut the fuck up and listen and learn. And he was like, we don't care about your Q-Core stories. We don't give a fuck. We all were there. He's like, just learn. And he's right. You know, that's what you need to do as a new guy. And just, you may, after you get a couple, like a year under your belt, and then maybe, you know, you can voice your opinion a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, it's definitely changed, and by infusing the X-rays, I think it still is. It's one of the best things that they could have done in order to not only just to keep up with the numbers and stuff, but I think they've actually created a program now that's a pipeline for individuals that they're trying to select the right groups and move them on into, you know, the groups and stuff and on teams. But I think, you know, we talk about this as they keep progressing and they keep changing, and it looks like they're lowering the target level, that you could allow individuals to get in that maybe shouldn't be there. But if you talk to anybody that's gone through the Q or anything else, they'll always tell you, oh, I remember there was at least 1 or 2 that probably shouldn't never made it either.
Yeah. It's always been the case.
It's always been the case, yeah. So, I think that's where, you know, when we start having discussions around should women be in, you know, SF, or should women go to Ranger School, or should women be in regiment, and all of those types of things, we got to bear in mind that there should be a standard and stuff, and we're not talking about you lower the standards to allow females to come in, and I don't think many females want that to occur.
My opinion on it is, I'm all for it. If you can meet the standards, by all means.
And I think that's what most people would say.
It's going to be a big change for like if it was like SF to have a female on the ODA. I see it causing more problems at home for guys like on deployments and stuff like that. Just
that's a truth. Yeah, I can see that.
And then also in Afghanistan, like the captain's always dealing with your counterpart, and unfortunately over there, they don't respect women, so he's not going to talk to you because it most likely would be a female officer first to come through, and he's not going to deal with you most likely, and that's just something we're going to have to work through, obviously. But I'm all for it. If you can do it,
yeah.
Do it. There's a transgender at 7th group, and make sure I say it. She. Like, I didn't even know it was, her, but we were all doing this workout one morning. Beast. I was like, damn, this girl is fucking killing it. But she actually used to be a team leader on the ODA, and she's in there doing, more than some of the dudes that were in there. So,
yeah,
more power to her.
Yeah, I think, and if you talk to most of the guys that are in SF or the unit, at least the ones I've ran into, that's the same sentiment they have. It's sort of like, hey, listen, I don't care. You hear these stories about people saying, well, there's no way in hell they're going to be able to carry my body out, or, they're going to be able to, well, listen, there's half the damn dudes that weigh 150, 120 pounds, and they can't carry you out either. Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. But you're putting your life you're putting your life with them and stuff in the foxhole. You have no concern about it. I think your point's well taken, though, about on the other side of it. It's just when you get away from the combat, you get away from that environment and you come back home. If you're married, how are your spouses? There's going to be a change that's going to have to occur. It's going to take a period of time before all this works itself out. We're just in the very early stages of this whole thing, so we'll just kind of see how it kind of plays. But I found it was kind of interesting that the Army, and I know we're getting really off topic here, but how the Army recently changed they were evaluating that one workout, what do they call that?
The new fitness test?
Yeah. So, now they're deciding, I guess, that we're going to tweak this and make it a little bit more gender specific. But I thought that when they first came out with that, I thought that's really good, because these should be the basics of being able to, climb a wall or take somebody and put them on your back, or, do the things that are, the test was more designed to be about what you would most likely face in a stressful combat situation and physical side.
Yeah, I love the new test. I think it's great.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you like about it? Just because it's more functional, or?
Yeah, exactly. It's
more practical.
Right. I think that sled drag, man, that humbled me, and, it's just deadlifts. All those are things that are more steered to like dragging my ass when I'm shot and get me behind cover, over running 2 miles.
Yeah.
And I definitely should run more than I do. But I just never ran 2 miles in combat, I've had to sprint with a lot of weight on me, and carry heavy shit. And obviously, you need cardio. You need the cardiovascular ability to do that. So running long distances help, but when you're getting assessed for if you're a fit soldier, I think it should be, stuff that's functional.
But it's not, So we joke about this, especially, kind of the guys that's been around for a period of time. And not that I'm saying I'm an old timer or anything, but when so the way in which you determine whether a soldier was good, or at least many commanders and senior NCOs did, was how well they ran.
Right.
And it was about not just the 2 mile, it was like we go out on a 5 mile run, and some of these stupid battalion runs or whatever, yo-yo effect anyway,
Right,
I mean,
it's just a joke.
You're not even really running, you're walking half the time, and then
social gathering.
Social gathering, yeah. And then you'll sprint for 50 yards and you're back to walking again. You're like, son of a gun, and you do this for 5 miles, 7 miles. And yeah, but if somebody did that, or, they were the guy calling the cadence or what, all of a sudden, man, we need to promote this guy. They do great in, the runs and, blah, blah, blah. And they're a leader.
Well, I think that where that comes from is not necessarily that the dude getting promoted on the guy's ability or girl's ability to perform the PT test. It's the mindset than most people who maintain themselves over the years, who can constantly get that 300 or whatever, 600 or whatever, a good score. That means that you're at home doing it in your own time. And it's that mindset that they're looking. Generally, I'd say that mindset is a more successful mindset and as a leader. So that's what you want. You don't want the guy that's like I shouldn't go run today. Like, I'll go do calf raises. I had a team sergeant like that.
Well, they're not using that as part of what you guys were taught in drill sergeant school, right? I mean, were you guys taught that program for the physical aspect?
Yes.
You were, okay.
The new one,
yeah. So I mean,
that's what we took. That's what we were graded on. Everything.
Okay, because I had thought that was more.
I loved it. It was great.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. We're gonna try that one.
It just seemed like you're.
I've never done.
Well, not only that, but you're like
refurbished.
Now.
Yeah.
Those push-ups are weird, man. I'm telling you, it's really weird picking your hands up and going out like that. I thought I was good at push-ups.
Yeah.
For all the future soldiers out there, practice those because it's different.
Yeah. Is there like? We'll get in that later.
The old push-up test. I mean, that's easy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like once you figure it out.
Some people had trouble with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the people bounce and everything like that.
Yeah.
There's no bouncing on those.
Well, not only that, but once somebody figured out the right where they wanted to hold their arms, and we all saw it where some people were a little bit more wider because they liked it, where they don't have to go down as far as either. But it's harder. But if that's what you worked on, where versus closer and those types of things. Whereas what you're talking about is going to be
inside guy.
Got the diamond and everything in there.
Not that good, no.
Yeah. So now you're coming full circle. So we talked in the very beginning about, when you came into the Army, that you had a drill sergeant that actually took you under his wing, or at least gave you some coaching, seemed to take a liking to you, and found you to be somebody that he wanted to give some mentoring to. You're going to be now in that same role. And so, you made a comment about that. It is kind of if you think of it as how rewarding it was for you to have somebody be that impressionable, and now you have that opportunity now to do that, with new soldiers that are coming in.
That's kind of been my motivation for the whole thing. Is just if I can just if I can be Drill Sergeant Glass for one kid, then it's as much influence he had on my life and how. Like, I'm so thankful for my career. It's like there's so many times throughout my career where I've been like, I cannot believe this is my fucking job. Like, it is amazing. So if I can just influence someone like that, just one, it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
In my eyes. And that sounds corny as shit, I know.
No, it doesn't, because we come all in from different walks of life and for different reasons. But somehow you've got to find a way to find that motivation within that individual to pull that out of them and make them see that in themselves later on.
Right.
Or then and later on, I should say.
I had a lot of conversations with the drill instructors at the academy, and they were talking about how you'll get kids or people who are homeless before, and, been on the streets since they were like 14 years old, shit like that. And their stories are crazy. So it's like you can be so much influence to someone who grew up like that. And also have fun playing mind games with them while you're at it.
Yeah.
You can do push-ups.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, Don Fox, him, and he served with me and stuff, and he's occasionally a co-host, was a commander at Fort Benning, and had a drill sergeant unit or a drill unit and stuff, basic training unit. And he talked about it was strange seeing individuals that would be coming in the door at 34 years old, 35 years old. And to your point, you may see kids who come in, or young people who come in from different walks of life, but you're also going to find those individuals that are mid-career that just all of a sudden decided this is what they wanted to do.
Yeah, and if you are older and are thinking about that, don't be discouraged at all, because so in 7th group, there was a guy in my company who he didn't even get... I don't think he joined the Army until he was like 36 or something like that. And crazy, but he became a Green Beret, And he wasn't the fastest or the strongest, but his personality and what he could bring as far as life experiences was really good. But also, when I was in the Q course, there was a colonel going through, and man, I wish I could remember his name right now. But he was 54 years old, and he
Going through the queue.
Yeah, he had a crazy ass story. God, I wish I could remember his name. Doc Rodden, I think is his name. Yep. So the legend, I might be saying some facts, but apparently he grew up in like Ranger Regiment, did his 4 years, got out, did some stuff with the CIA for a little while, and then stopped doing that, and then became a doctor, and then became a surgeon for 7th Group. And oh man, I got a great story. So he went through the Q course with me. He did Sage with me. He carried the fucking 120-pound ruck, the 8 hours. Did all that. 54 years old. And he'd be dipping and smoking at the same time. It's like, this dude was insane. But, and he'd always sit down whenever he'd tell a story, like, all the time whenever we'd stop. And he'd, like, sit down and, like, light a cigarette, like, just like an old man. But he did. I just remember thinking, like, he's the same age as my fucking dad, and, like, how broken down my dad is from the way he did his life. And this guy's out here just doing this shit and, positive mindset and everything. So he told a story. I hope I can talk about this. So he told a story about a Marine when he was working with 7th Group, was in Afghanistan, and I guess a Marine was Skyping with his wife, and they were getting a little experimental, and he put his wedding ring and got stuck on himself, right? So I don't know how it happened, but his wedding ring got stuck on him. So he had to get it cut off because it's tungsten. And the doc, Rodnothy, was the one that had to cut it off. So they had like people over there like pouring water on him while he's like cutting it. Anyways, this poor guy had to get like sent home, I think, because he was like suicidal or something, because he was getting made fun of so bad,
I'm trying not to imagine this story here as you're telling it.
So I'm bringing it full circle. Hold on. So I get to my team, my ODA, and we're doing like some JRTC shit, and my Bravo's telling this story about in Afghanistan, and Doc Rodnothy cutting this ring off this Marine, and it was just, it was just a small world, I was like, y'all know that motherfucker. I was like, I went through the Q course with him. It was bullshit, But what a great guy, man. Like, what an awesome life. Like, he's just one of those dudes that, like, setting the next goal, achieve it. You just look at his background, it's ridiculous.
I get contacted all the time, through the account, and people who are, even 26, 28 years old, and saying, is it too late? Is it too late?
Yeah,
do you feel it's too late?
No, I tell them no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you got 18-year-olds out here that are breaking,
right,
standing up. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter where you go. I think it's more mindset over anything. What is that? So I hope I can pronounce his name right, but Roy Benavides.
Oh yeah.
He's my favorite Green Beret. Like, I've listened to his Medal of Honor speech like 50 times, and it's so amazing. Like, if you hear his story and his mindset, and he talks about that one instructor he had in the Q course, or whatever he called the pipeline, who told him a positive mindset will carry you further than ability every time. And that's true. I mean, like you said, you see these 110-pound kids who are beasting on these rucks and stuff like that. You just have to have a certain mindset to persevere through that stuff, I guess. Mm-hmm. So age shouldn't play too big of a difference. I mean, obviously, as you get older, I'm already breaking down, but obviously as you get older, you're going to be more prone to injuries. But
yeah, I'm glad I'm sitting here looking more buff than you. I'm not breaking down yet, Luke.
That's all internal, all in the joints.
No, I like to tell people, like, don't deselect yourself.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like, that's the first step in any selection process or anything you're going to try out for is, are you getting stand on the line?
You can't have that quit anywhere floating up there. It's like, that wasn't even a fucking option when I was going through the course. I never even thought about that, honestly. It was just like, I hope I meet the standards. I never thought about quitting ever.
Yeah.
Or surpass the standards. I just, just can't have that negative mindset.
So if you, is that the one thing, because I was going to ask you, and we almost maybe just covered it, is if you had one thing to tell the individuals that are getting ready to go in, who may run into you now as a drill sergeant, what would it be? Is that it, or is there something else as well that you would also
I mean, kind of like what he said, don't deselect yourself. Like, don't tell yourself I can't do this, or just because someone else is over there doing it better than you should be like, well, at least something I always tell myself is that if another human being can do it, I can fucking do it. So it's like, if that person can do it, I can do it. It's just kind of how my mindset has always been. So and it worked out for me. So maybe that'll help you if you kind of can look at it that way and don't get discouraged. I see a lot, just in all walks of life, but in the military, I've seen a lot, like guys really, might be a little off topic too, but guys just like hating on other guys who are doing really well in their career or something like
happens
that.
a lot.
And because either, I don't know, they got dealt a bad hand, and it happens a lot in the military, or something, and it's just, and tying it back to trainees, like don't hate, don't, or just anyone, don't hate on someone for doing well. You should like be happy for them, and that should drive you to want to do the same. And just that's a good mindset to have, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think it's one of the things like kids who are coming in. I say kids, but people who are coming in today. I know you kid yourself, but people who are coming in today, they came in for a reason, and most of them today, as we were talking about just a few episodes, are coming in during a time frame that they know that there's a war that's going on, and they're joining for that reason, and so they're really hopefully coming in. At least I'd like to think with the mindset of I want to achieve something. I'm coming in for something better. Where back in the day it was more about I'm just coming in for the college money.
Right. Exactly.
That's all I'm here for. And
we actually listened to a podcast yesterday, and also a guy that was going through the Q course with me. Both guys, they joined 2011. Like as soon as September 11th happened, or 2001, my bad. But as soon as September 11th happened, they were like dropping out of college and joining the military because they were like that patriotism and just I want to go defend my country. And the guy on the podcast was talking about how everybody that he went to basic with, even the fucking basic or the drill sergeants, they're all going to war. They all know they're going to war. And they all know they're going to war together. So it had like this, it built like an extra cohesion because you knew that, hey, that motherfucker's going to be watching my back soon. And he's going to be watching, and I'm going to be watching his back. So he said it was like and that's kind of like what we have now. I guess I don't think it's probably as strong just because that was like right after a huge event. But just the people who are volunteering and knowing that there's a chance they could go to combat is the kind of people you want. Obviously. Yeah.
Just when you were describing that, it reminded me of the movie Stripes. I don't know why, but remember the whole group where they end up going on a war and everything, right? Well, didn't they? Thought so.
I think that's something that people they like to trash on millennials, and they like to trash on And I think we've been in war for 20 years, and nobody had to draft us. People that don't really recognize that. I mean, 20 years every year, the ranks are full. People are volunteering over and over again, and say what you will, but.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's not the same because I can tell you that back in the day there was a lot more commercials about the military and everything else because they were really trying to push it, and primarily because during Vietnam they did have the draft in order to get the numbers up and they could bring it in. So, after that they needed to kind of maintain some certain status, but draftees will tell you, or people that lived during that time period. Most of the people didn't want to be there. If you got drafted or whatever, most of them didn't want to go, and they didn't want to be there.
Just counting down the days to go home.
And when I hear people today say stuff like, why don't we institute the draft again? Why don't we just bring in the draft? Well, everybody should serve for 2 years or something of that nature like some other countries do. No, because then you get individuals who really do not want to be there.
Or don't belong there.
Yeah. Because, during Vietnam and everything, either you go to jail or you go with the military, too.
So I had a buddy of mine. He actually said this one day because we were talking about like how people should own guns and have their concealed carry and stuff like that. And his argument was actually pretty, it broadened my mindset on it a little bit. He's like, I don't want everyone to have a gun. He's like, because say there's an active shooter in the military or in a theater. And then you got someone who actually knows what they're doing, is up trying to shoot this guy. And you have an individual over here that doesn't know what the hell they're doing and is just freaking out. And they just stand up and they see a guy with a gun. It could be the dude that's, they wouldn't be, what I'm saying? It's like not everybody should be out there, carrying a weapon. You need to train and all that stuff. But and it was a good, kind of like what you're saying, is not everybody should.
Yeah. Yeah, mandatory service comes with some complications.
Not for everyone.
Well, I mean, you remember basic training. You're talking about, you look around at some of the guys, you're like, how did you even make it on the bus ride down here? What are you thinking being in the military? And then some of those guys get weeded out. Some of those guys
do great stuff,
acclimatize and adjust. And it's like, not all of those people belong there. And those are volunteers. So I think there's something. I'm curious. So what happens after you are done being a drill sergeant? You go back to group?
Yep. Okay. Hopefully this will be my broadening assignment, and hopefully it can get me promoted to E8.
Nice.
So I was supposed to get looked at last year. I didn't do my board file or anything like that. I don't want to be an E8. One, I can look at myself and be like, okay, I'm probably not mature enough to be an E8 right now. I still don't know enough. I feel like I should learn more before. I mean, I've never led soldiers before, so this would be this isn't, obviously it's TRADOC, but it just will give me a little bit better idea of like having people under me and having to manage all that. So that's kind of another reason why I chose it. But once you become an E8, you got 2, maybe 3 years on a team, and then you're going behind the desk. So I've been trying to dodge that a little bit. That's one thing the X-rays have to deal with, because you have such a long career. It's like you're going to be sitting behind a desk soon if you don't play your cards right.
Yeah, never really thought about it that way. I mean, like again, under the older model, you had to be at least an E4 with 2 years in. So your time is pretty limited as to maybe doing some of the stuff that you would enjoy doing before you have to do that. And officers obviously are very, different as well. Yeah, much quicker.
But people shit on officers a lot. I've had some really good officers, even though their time stints like real short. I've had some really good officers. Well,
I appreciate you coming on, man. I think I think you're going to do well going forward, because your mindset is more of, you're wanting to help individuals grow. If they have the desire, you're there to help them do that.
I hope so. Hopefully I can be that for them.
Yeah, and I look forward to watching you through that journey. Again, you talked about how you're not going to be able to put yourself out there quite as much and stuff, but it'll be really interesting.
If you want to have me back on or something, maybe 6 months down the road.
I was going to say,
I can give you some experience. I'd probably have some funny stories too.
Yeah, no. Funny stories.
Definitely.
I think it would be really fun just to do that, just like you said, just to see in that time period, what is it that you really learned? You went into this whole thing in a certain mindset and did that carry through. And not only that, but like you said, you're having a chance to really lead other individuals. Now, you being the drill instructor means that they're going to probably listen to you, hopefully, more than the average individual. But it really will give you an exposure of that, as well as the drill sergeant, as well as the TRADOC, the good and the bad that comes with that. Yeah. So there's a lot there really to kind of uncover to figure out how your journey has been so far. But you're not that far away. You're only an hour or so away from here. So
it's a great place too. Come visit here anytime.
No doubt.
Got the dogs out in the car. I'm about to get we're about to take them to the park.
Awesome.
See the town a little bit.
I appreciate it, man. I really do appreciate you coming up, Luke. We'll have you back on here for sure.
Yep.